Let me tell you, there's nothing quite like watching the treasurer of your HOA slap a stack of carbon copy invoices onto your good mahogany dining table like a blackjack dealer at some smoke-filled backroom joint, just spreading out the evidence with a look that says, "Let's see how you handle this, buddy." The top invoice, June 3rd, 1950. I kid you not. It claimed I owed for dock etiquette classes, and wait for its seagull mitigation. I'm reading through, trying not to laugh out loud. There's an email late fee, a website maintenance search charge, something called a wireless router assessment, which if you've ever met me, you'd know I barely trust Wi-Fi to check baseball scores. Meanwhile, outside my window, Lark's Cove looked about as peaceful as my life had felt just 2 days earlier. That was before the HOA's self-appointed collections officer, Dennis Nervous Guy, home-laminated, badge eyes darting like a raccoon on trash night, leaned across the table and hissed at me. "Pay the $38,940 plus past due assessments, or we place a retroactive lien on your property by close of business tomorrow." Yeah, retroactive. On my house. I tried to keep my voice steady, but my blood pressure was already somewhere north of Mount Rainier. Here's the kicker. Back in 1950, my house was nothing but a burned-out boathouse. My parents hadn't even met yet. Dennis just smiled all tight-lipped, like he'd rehearsed it in front of the bathroom mirror, and recited Per Bylaw Section 47, subsection 12 time is merely a suggestion, and all debts follow the land eternally. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I'm Julian Mercer. I like the smell of varnish more than I like people. And I just finished restoring a 100-year-old lakefront mansion at Larkspur Cove up in Birch Ridge. Took me 3 years stripping away layers of neglect and bad DIY jobs to get down to the bones oak beams, hand-cut trim floors that creaked in the right places. My life. Pretty simple. Coffee at 6, sanding trim by 9, rowing out on the water come dusk. I like my peace and my order. The neighborhood's got other plans, though. Across the cul-de-sac sits Colleen Pettigrew, HOA President Clipboard, always at the ready, thinks of the community like her own personal Versailles. She's in her early 60s, hair the color and rigidity of galvanized steel, and she could probably walk through a hurricane and not lose a single curl. She welcomed me with a rhubarb pie surprisingly good, and a warning delivered with a smile that looked like it'd shatter a window about my historically expressive weather vane. Apparently, the copper rooster my granddad made in 1928 was showboating and creating visual discord. That was day one. After that, Colleen went after me with the energy of a leaf blower at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. Violation slips showed up in my mailbox every week, shingles reflecting sunlight, aggressively dock cleats blinding boaters, grass growing with unauthorized enthusiasm. My favorite, the grass citation. Because I guess if you're going to have rules, might as well invent some new ones. The fines got more ridiculous. 1972 canoe choreography dues $347. 1961 weed whispering assessment $212. And the crown jewel, the 1950 ledger bill to estate at parcel 17, which, by the way, was underwater until 1958 if you believe the county maps. Then she posted my so-called delinquency on the neighborhood app's serial scofflaw, threatens property values, dropped my reputation lower than the guy who feeds raccoons at midnight, and just above, the guy who painted his mailbox the wrong beige. That's when the drone showed up hovering by my bedroom window at 6:30 a.m., snapping gutter angles like a hummingbird with an FBI complex. I caught Colleen herself at my boathouse, one dawn tape measure in hand, scribbling away documenting my solar non-compliance because my east-facing windows were apparently capturing the sunrise in a way that violated community standards. I asked what standard governed sunlight. She told me Section 93. There are only 40 sections. She filed what she called a continuity lien at the county recorder's office, claiming the HOA dated back to Truman and that all current owners were liable for every historic debt. She even attached yellowed invoices, courier font coffee stains, clearly added for drama. But one look and my stomach dropped. Those invoices had modern zip codes. Zip codes didn't exist until 1963. She wasn't done. She emailed my mortgage servicer, my title company, and some law firm that still had lorem ipsum on their website. The last straw, she scheduled a heritage demolition review for my carriage house, claiming it suffered from fiat, which she defined as money corrosion caused by non-payment of assessments since the 1950s. That's not even a real thing. I sat there, documents spread across my desk, realizing I was dealing with a one-woman bureaucracy weaponizer, someone with too much time and a color printer. She even made a fake newspaper clipping from 1949 announcing the HOA, but the photo had 1980s cars and a Starbucks cup. Nice touch, Colleen. Now, my dad was a research librarian for 30 years, so I learned to young document everything. Keep your cool. I sent the invoices to Patricia Chen, a retired forensic archivist who could spot a fake date stamp at 50 paces. I also looped in Eleanor Ross, the county historian, who's forgotten more about local land boundaries than most folks will ever learn. Patricia called me 3 days later, so excited she could barely speak. She'd found 17 different anachronisms, barcode on a 1950s receipt, a Microsoft Word tag font kerning from the 1980s. Eleanor found that the HOA only started in 1987 after the lake was raised for a city water project. Before that, just neighbors getting together for potlucks. That's when I brought in the big guns, the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Unit. Investigator Marcus Webb, the kind of guy who's seen every scam in the book, didn't need much convincing. My title insurance company was panicking over the fake lien, so they hired a fraud attorney who'd previously taken down mortgage scammers. The county recorder flagged Colleen's lien as potentially defective and started an internal review. Then Marcus Webb showed up at my place binder and hand search warrant for the HOA's records. That's when things started to turn. At the next HOA gathering, the board looked nervous as barn cats in a thunderstorm. Colleen called an emergency meeting in the old boathouse, now a clubhouse, and strutted in Navy Blazer Pearl's laser pointer. Her PowerPoint was a masterpiece of fiction. Slide 1, 1950 delinquency roll eagle watermark from some free clip art. Slide 2, a Truman-era memo with sepia Instagram filter. Slide 3, my property circled in red labeled historical deadbeat. And then right when you think it can't get any weirder, Patricia Chen, my guest, stands up, walks calmly to the front, taps the screen and says, "That's a 1997 Microsoft Office paperclip. That watermark's from an Epson scanner released in 2011. The PDF metadata shows these were made last month. On Windows 11, the whole room just sucked in air like a leaky tire." Eleanor Ross stands up, waves a survey map, and adds, "This parcel didn't exist until 1958. Before then, it was Lake Bottom." Marcus Webb, the AG guy, steps forward, badge flashing, and reads off charges: filing false instruments, attempted title clouding, unfair debt collection, first-degree forgery. Then he holds up a spreadsheet showing Colleen paid $47,000 to a historical verification consultant with the same bank routing number as her own. The projector freezes on that cell, her routing number for the world to see. I swear you could hear a pin drop. Colleen's face went from high and mighty to hospital gray. When Deputy Marshal Sarah Chan cuffed her right there, reading Miranda Dennis, "Remember Dennis?" The collections officer handed me a cookie and whispered if I could drive him home since Colleen was his ride. That's how fast things changed. Colleen pleaded guilty to a shopping list of charges: forgery, filing false liens, extortion, theft by deception. The forensic accountants tallied up $63,000 in fake admin fees she'd funneled to herself. The courtroom was packed for sentencing 40 homeowners. Some she'd fined, some she'd bullied. Judge Patricia Morrison, tough as nails, leaned in and said, "I've seen HOA overreach, but 70 years of fake invoices, forged records, government docs, and $60,000 stolen. That's a special kind of ambition." Her sentence: 500 hours of community service, scraping zebra mussels off docks. 3 years probation, banned from any board, committee, or club anywhere there's a clipboard. Order to take classes on document authenticity and ethical leadership, because if you can fake a 1950 invoice, the judge said maybe your skills can be used for something legal. As the bailiff let her out, Colleen muttered it was all a misunderstanding, that she just wanted to protect property values. Someone else did the faking, but the judge just shook her head and said, "That goes way beyond misunderstanding." Colleen's mouth opened and closed, hands shaking on her folder. Then she vanished through the side door, her reign ending not with a gavel but a click of the lock and the quiet relief of a community that finally saw justice served. So let me ask you, where's the line between protecting a neighborhood and running it like your own private fiefdom? Would you have fought back or just paid up and hoped they moved on? Drop your thoughts below, especially if you've ever dealt with HOA drama. And if you think justice was done or maybe you'd have handled it differently, share your story. I bet this crowd's got some wild ones.